So, hello, good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to VUTV, Vijaybhoomi University's digital platform for meaningful academic and policy conversation. Thank you for joining us today for this important discussion on what Budget 2026 means for India's education ecosystem. Every year, the Union Budget sends powerful signals, not just through numbers and allocations, but through its priorities and long-form intent. For the education sector, this signals matters deeply as this influences schools, universities, faculties, learners, researchers, and ecosystems. Today's session aims to go beyond headlines and examine what 2026 really means for India's education system, for a policymaker, for institution, and for value-driven perspectives. It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speakers for today's session. First, we have Dr. Ashok K. Pandey, Chairperson at Council for Global Citizenship Education. He is a noted education policy contributor, author, and a former governing body member at CBSE and NCTE, with extensive experience in shaping policy governance frameworks in Indian education system. Joining him is Dr. Navneet Sharma, Dean at Jagdish Sheth School of Management, JAGSoM, and KEDGE Business School at Vijaybhoomi University. Dr. Sharma brings in insight from academic leaderships, institutional governance, and global education partnerships. We are grateful to both our speakers for sharing their time and perspective with us today. With this context, I would like to begin the discussion by inviting our speakers to share their initial reflection on the key insight emerging from the Union Budget 2026 from India's educational ecosystem.
Thank you. Thank you for a very kind introduction. And you very rightly said, I think, when I heard you say that it is not just about numbers and allocations, I think the Indian budget presentation this year and also in the previous years has consistently shown that the government is using this budget presentation for a showcase of its priorities. And that is something very, very important. And that is why this budget has become more than, for people to look for SOPs and what is there in it for me, which was the only interest which the public at large had. Just a few years ago, now everybody is keenly awaiting the details of this budget. And what has happened is that it has created a kind of curiosity, less about the budget, but more about how this budget will steer the country in the direction of a developed India by 2047. I think that is where I come from. And I look at the budget from that lens. And to just add in my preliminary remark, the very profound quote of a Telugu poet, which the finance minister quoted right in the beginning of her budget speech, that, any country is not only about the soil, it is about the people. And it is the people's education, their health, their skill building, their prosperity. That is what matters. And therefore, as a responsive government, our budget addresses that. And that is what takes this budget forward. So I'll rest my case here. I'll invite Professor Navneet at this stage, and then probably we'll take the discussions forward.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pandey, for those thoughtful remarks. And I quite resonate with what you just said, that normally when it comes to budget, we are looking for headlines or savings headlines. Typically, that is the kind of
Yeah,
responses we are reading in the pink press and elsewhere. But my take is that this is a budget that offers a deep structural support.
absolutely.
It's not really an annual budget. My take is that it is giving us an opportunity to use our long term horizons. And therefore, fundamentally, the way I read the budget speech is that it is geared towards transforming India's education ecosystem. Whether it's about school classrooms or research universities, the entire spectrum is getting impacted. And I see that with serious implications for employability, for gender equity, from digital readiness, from global competitiveness, because ultimately your economic competitiveness rests on human capital. So,
Absolutely.
therefore, this is a budget which is seeking to deliver us as a country the human capital advantage. But we can now get into specifics of budgetary allocations and other things as we progress
Yeah. Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Mr. Pandey, back to you.
Yeah. Absolutely, sir. So, as far as education is concerned, for many decades, I'll tell you this interesting thing that we thought that the only measure of a good allocation to education is that the 6% of GDP should come to education. Well, unfortunately, that has not happened. And we are still under 3%, even if you calculate everything. But I think we have gone beyond this percentages, 3%, 6%, because when we talk of numbers, then probably it was more important. But now the question is that first time in this budget, I do not know if it was explicitly mentioned or not, but education has been recognized very solidly as part of the infrastructure. And it is in that context that the first time mention of the university as a township is an indication to that universities will become the engine for country's growth, employment, skill building, research, development. I think this is a very new, fresh idea. I must clarify here that this practice may not be new. Some of the IITs, some of the universities, they might be doing this holistic thing, but it's very explicit mention in the budget, structures of funding, a roadway, a roadmap laying out. I think that has come for the first time. So this is very innovative. The setting of the new universities, as you said, the clear linkages between education, industry, and employment. That has been underlined and reinforced. The the uses of AI in the enterprise and enterprising AI, both of them have been linked in such a manner that everybody recognizes the potential of artificial intelligence. So the whether it is the content development labs in the schools and colleges, AI centers and hubs, I think there is a holistic way to look at it. But even in terms of figures, whatever allocation is here, which is almost 10% more than what it was last year. So government has not faltered there also, though they may not have reached the targets that we are aspiring for. So I think these are the clear indications that quality matters, the skill development matters, the employment matters. And for that, government is creating this educational infrastructure, which we have to take it forward.
Totally. I feel that you have underscored a couple of very, very important themes. And I see what you said that the university townships, if I remember correctly, the FM has announced at least five university
Five new, yes,
townships.
absolutely,
And they're going to be across the industrial and logistics corridors. So,
absolutely.
which means these university towns are actually going to get integrated
Mm,
in our industrial policy, in our industrial development. So,
absolutely.
therefore, that makes it really interesting. And not only that, I hear such a big bang support to Prime Minister's research chair scheme. I think
Yeah,
something like 200 crores has been
absolutely.
allocated, and you can envision the kind of structured research anchoring the research support our university and higher education ecosystem will receive. It's going to be massive because we never had this ecosystems thinking,
Yes.
ecosystem of education, research and industry linkage and innovation. I think the kind of strategic impetus that has been given this time
Absolutely.
is truly impressive. On the other thing you mentioned, as you were speaking, I was reflecting the entire AVGC content labs.
Oh, yes.
They're going to cover something like 15,000 schools and 500
Yeah.
colleges.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the way imagination of this young country has been captured by the budget. I
Absolutely.
mean, all of us are lamenting the screen, that how it is drowning the youth and the
Mhm.
society. But the budget is actually looking at the sunny side of that, sir.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, the same creativity of youth is being channelized into digital content creation and digital content labs and creative skills. And that entire effort, to me, is nothing less than infrastructure spending, honestly,
Yes.
because it's going to create curriculum pathways, it's going
Mhm.
to empower the youth and channelize their energies into something meaningful, something truly
Yeah.
purpose driven. And as you rightly said, it's close to 10%, actually, about 8.3% or so.
8.9, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that, total 1.3 lakh, 39 lakh crore budgetary allocation. I mean, even though we might be below the 6%
Yeah.
ceremonial figure, but my sense is that that kind of budgetary allocation truly gives the sector the heft which we have
Yeah.
been wanting post the NEP. So, therefore,
Yeah.
your reflections are truly enlightening to all of us and to our audience.
Yeah.
And how do you, sir, reflect on the gender? Because as a country, Dr. Pandey, we have this aspiration to increase our labor force participation rate, which
Yes.
means effectively the girls got to do better at schools and the university. How do
Absolutely.
you reflect on that angle, sir?
Yes, yes. So, in some quarters, Professor Navneet, the budget's criticism is that it is less inclusive and less equitable. I have to say something on that. You already mentioned that the girls' hostel in every district, imagine 800 districts of the country. What is it? It is an intent as to how to enable girls' education. The second is girls focused STEM education. That is another way of. Then let us go to the 60 to 70% of the population of this country, which is village, rural, farm based. Now, if you go through the various schemes and missions which have been announced in the farm sector, they are all inclusive, and a special mention for drone Didis and Lakhpati Didis program. They look like economic programs, but they are rooted and grounded in education first. You have to teach them, you have to skill them, then you create employment, then you provide funding to them. So I think this budget is not falling short of its promises and intent as far as inclusion and equity is concerned. uh, the midday meal scheme, was revised, and it was converted into not only meal but also nutrition. Now, that has been given a new impetus in this, because the young children don't only need meal to fill their stomach. They need meal which is nutritious, and it provides them age appropriate nutrition. So, portion scheme, as we call them. So, that is also very much there. And that is why, in my beginning, Professor Navneet, when I said that for the first time, there is, I think, a huge allocation for the capital expenditure. This time, it is there. As far as education is concerned, the capital expenditure that happens around this is very invisible. It is not like building a road or building a hospital, but digital infrastructure, building schools and colleges and these hubs, and bringing the girls and the marginalized people in the mainstream, of providing them with quality education, making them more competitive, and making them more employable, not only be employed, but also create employment for others. I think I give the budget the full marks.
I agree with you, sir, that even on the inclusion front, I am particularly impressed by the announcement of making at least one girls' hostel in every district. I think
Yeah.
in metros we don't really realize, but for smaller towns, tier two, tier three, tier four
Oh, yes,
cities, it's going to make a tremendous impact.
absolutely.
There's another thing on the gender front, sir, even though it's not really a gender centric scheme, but the kind of impetus that has been given to allied health disciplines,
Mm.
uh, impetus on training and 1 lakh allied health professionals, I think that's going to very favorably impact the females in our country. That's
Yeah.
another, even though it looks like a footer in the
Yeah.
entire budget,
Yeah.
but I see that as a headline, not
No,
really as a
yes,
footer.
it has long-term significance. You're right.
You
Yeah.
know. And then one thing which caught my attention, Dr. Pandey, is that government has announced setting up of a high-powered standing committee on education to employment and skills integration. That is something very, very strategic. We have had all kind of parliamentary committees, all kind of standing committees, and they have received tremendous attention, but unfortunately education never received that kind of attention. So governments intend to give this kind of respect and this kind of strategic approach to the sector stands out to me, and that is a very, very bold statement of intent on the part of the government through this budget. So I greatly
Absolutely.
appreciate what one can read out of this.
Yeah.
But this has been a fascinating conversation with you, Dr. Pandey.
Yeah.
I would urge you to give your closing remarks on that note, sir.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So I'm with you on this, and that is what makes me, even at the cost of a repetition, say that this government is very much focused on education and employment. And you see, as we are all aware of, the higher education is drawing the enrollment ratio is around 28% right now. The government intends to increase it to 50% by 2035 or somewhere around that. But parallelly, the government, there is a realization in the government that mere increasing the numbers in the higher education or tertiary education for that matter is not going to take us forward unless we link it with employment and skill building. The kind of the emerging employment opportunities which are going to come within the country and outside the country through the various trade deals that we are doing and various governmental arrangements that we have, I think there will be a time when we'll be exposed that, look, this much of employment opportunity is there, but our youth is not adequately skilled. I think government is very, very sensitive to that. And government appears to me in a bit of a hurry. And therefore, that stand provision for 100 new aspirational districts and taking them forward a lens which is a little bit differential, little bit positively discriminating, as we call it, and 100 most, I don't want to use the backward word here, but at least underdeveloped districts of the country. And focusing on their development is a brilliant idea.
That's true, sir. I mean, thank you very much for enlightening views. All of us have learned a great deal with that. And
Thank
I
you.
don't know if there are any other reflections from our co-travelers in this show. If there are any, very happy to listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, they can add their views. They can ask something, and any enlightenment that they can bring in, that will be very helpful to the discussion.
Otherwise, since there aren't any reflections, let me formally thank you, Dr. Pandey. It has been a great pleasure to
Thank you,
be
sir.
in this show, and I greatly, express our gratitude on behalf of the university for your sparing time to us,
This,
sir. Thank you very much.
this is a pleasure. Thank you very much, and wish you, your team, and the university. You are already doing a great job. I consider you as one of the foremost innovative universities, and more such universities are needed in this country where you invite the students to choose their own courses, to choose their own pathways, giving them a broad range of self experiential exposure. I think that is something amazing. So, my congratulations and thank you very much for inviting me on your show.